Sometimes football can be really frustrating, and Saturday was a result that I think we all didn't want to see. And I got to be honest, man, after rewatching it a couple times, that was a cheap shot on Jahiem White.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, where we're going to talk about a little bit of football on the football side of things today, obviously, with the Mountaineers losing yesterday to Ohio 17-10. Watched the replay a bunch of different times, and with the Jahiem White situation, it's very frustrating to look at that over and over, but we'll get there in just a second. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by none other than our friends over at Game Time. And right now, when it comes to Game Time, you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. All right, guys. So I was able to piece together what it looks like on the thumbnail on the broadcast. It's a very similar look. I couldn't find a good angle to put on the thumbnail, but the face mask, the horse collar, it's pretty much the same look that you're going to get on the thumbnail. I just pieced an Ohio University player over top of it for dramatic effect, but I mean, that's what happened, right? I think they were frustrated. I think Jaheim's really hard to corral. To grab the face mask and the horse collar at the same time, that's not an accident, is my belief. And whatever happens after that falls on the player that did it. Yes, you sign up to play football. Yes, you understand that you can get hurt in these games. There's no doubt about it. Just like I watched Antonio Brown get absolutely depleted by Vontaze Burfict over the middle for the Pittsburgh Steelers whenever the Steelers played the Bengals 10 or 12 years ago or whatever that was now, and literally changed that man to this day. I think most people would agree. Antonio Brown is completely changed as a person due to just significant head injuries. Who knows what Jahiem White's going to look like after this going forward. I feel so bad for him. Of all the people, he did not deserve this. He put in the most work. He really wanted to be the guy in this offense. And for as bad as things have been the first 2 weeks, things were going pretty well for him. Personally, statistically, not off to a bad start at all. A couple touchdowns in the first game, an early touchdown in this game, and he was going to get loose a couple times in this game. It would have happened. The one thing Jahiem White does is he makes the first guy miss a lot. He breaks tackles, obviously, like he did on a couple plays in the game. And I think Ohio's defenders were just tired of chasing him around. And I think they pulled a cheap move and they grabbed him from behind by the horse collar, by the face mask, and the damage has been done. Now, it's of my opinion, I think going forward, that if you're going to be able to punish people punitively for launching of the helmet and hitting people with targeting, there's literally the only difference is one's a head injury and one is not. Outside of that, I truly feel like going forward, we should consider punishing people down the road for horse collar tackles. Face masks, you never see too many bad injuries come out of face masks. But when you grab somebody's face mask and the horse collar at the same time, if you've never had that happen to you, it's pretty jarring because you've got this helmet that is specifically at the college level, specifically fit to your head that doesn't move without force. It takes force to move it unless you unbuckle it and untighten it, right? So especially a running back, you're going to want a nice, firm, snug helmet. So whenever somebody grabs you by the helmet or by the shoulder pads, they gain a lot of leverage, right? Which is why you see people do that. Whatever, whether it's holding or whatever, but you see people go that route. because it's easy, right? It's a lazy thing to do, but outside of even that, it's a dangerous thing to do. And kids are taught from this high nowadays not to do it. He could have pushed him. He could have done a multitude of things. And as many times as I watched it back, which is about 20, I sense frustration in the play. I sense frustration in this guy's actions as he did it. He was mad that he got shook, whatever. But at the end of the day, man, the damage has been done for Jahiem. So I just wanted to get here and talk about it because it's kind of gotten buried a little bit with everything else that's going on. But yeah, to me, this is absolutely a cheap shot. And Jahiem White, who deserves the world, man. He stayed when he didn't have to stay. Yes, he got paid well to stay, of course, but that's this day and age. Most good players are going to get paid well to stay if they're going to stay. Jahiem White chose West Virginia when the guy that had brought him in that he really trusted the most left. And it happened twice. It happened once with Neil Brown leaving, and now he's at Texas. And then it happened again, obviously, with you know who, right? So I don't know, man. I just look at it like you just hope there's almost no chance that this comes back as something as lucky as like a torn hamstring, or even though that's a long recovery process, it's something that you can recover 100% from, rather than a knee injury that you can come back from it, but you're never going to be 100% in most cases. And these days with medicine, you can be, but it's a scary looking injury the way it happened because you go backwards. So where do we go from here? That's a question that I think a lot of us want to know the answer to, because Clay Ash has been playing at the running back 2 spot. And while I do think that if we had a good offensive line, he could contribute well, he's just not the type of athlete. He's one of those guys that gets yards through hard running, effort. A lot of times, if you're getting hit in the backfield, hard running and effort don't matter as much, because you have to be a special kind of athlete to get out of those kind of things. Like Jahiem is really able to make guys miss. He's able to get skinny through the hole. He can mask things with the offensive line. There's a reason he busted one for 32 or 40 or whatever it was. And our offensive line didn't produce the hole for anybody else the rest of the game. So what do we do? Well, I've got some suggestions that we need to talk about. There are a few. There are some obvious ones, and then there are some that I would like to also mention as to how we're going to produce from the running back spot, because there are a couple of ways that Rich Rod can go about it, and there are a couple of ways that he's done it before, specifically at Ole Miss. We'll talk about that next. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Supply House. When talking about Supply House, the opening whistle is one of those things that blows when you get a new repair, right? So get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from putting projects. And while your industry-leading customer service is always going to have your blind side covered, keep in mind this as well. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The free Trademaster program is there for you today, and you can score some serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCOLLEGE5. That's SHCOLLEGE5 for 5% off your first order. Do it now. Do it yesterday at supplyhouse.com where you can get real people and real service. And of course, our friends over at Game Time are chiming in as well because football is back, college football, and I can't be more excited for it. Obviously, with the tailgates, rivalries, and the energy in the stands next week is going to be great. There's truly nothing like it, but let's be real here. Actually, getting tickets can feel a lot more like the battle than itself, than even the game. So you got the queues that are endless, the hidden fees that are always there, and prices jumping up at checkout, surprising you. That's why I use Game Time today. That app is the one that I love the most because it gives the advantage back to the fans, making it the easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees at checkout so you can see what you pay and nothing more. I pulled up Game Time in just a couple taps and saw amazing deals. And I'm talking about your college football games, your favorite team as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets today with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And remember that the terms apply. Create that promo code again, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off today. And swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today. That's swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today and ask yourself the question of all questions. What time is it? It's game time. And it's segment 2. Let's crack open this. Say this was probably about 10 hours old, dude, but that's fine. Just a little sipperoo. Yeesh, not great. All right. So my suggestions are these. Neil Brown's first year in Morgantown, I remember he just quit running it inside. And I had never seen it done before. And he was actually successful enough at it to keep people honest at the run there in 2019, I think it was, or 2020, one of the two. And the way he did that was with what you saw with Rodney Gallagher yesterday, the one end around type run. What you do is you start motioning guys through the formation and putting them on the edge and running the quarterback read game that way instead of inside like you did with our running backs. You'll have some of those, but you'll see a lot more of the perimeter run game, in my opinion. You'll also see a few more screens, in my opinion, which are extensions of the run game, as we well know. You just need easy yards to get drives started, to begin drives, to keep. It's all about getting first downs, right? And doing that whole thing. So I think that's what we're going to see from a play call standpoint. We're going to see quick, fast, in a hurry, in all, senses of the game. And we just need somebody that can do that for now. And we also need somebody that does a run threat off of that. And that's not something that's easy to do, but it's possible. So I think there are a couple options for that, right? Obviously, at the quarterback spot, I think that Jalen Henderson makes the most sense for that. Although, Gimme Brown or Foxy as well. I think they're all the more mobile than Nico for now. Like I said earlier today, if you didn't see, in my opinion, Nico is the kind of guy that if you give him a lane, like against Oklahoma State, right? He ran up through the middle, he ran that guy over. Like if he gets a couple steps, Nico's about as mobile as anybody else we have on the team. But the problem is whenever there's people in the backfield and there's people out and around, he doesn't have the mobility to escape pressure like that. He just don't. So we got to move on to somebody else. We have to. That's just the way it is. But other than that, running backs wise, I don't understand why we haven't seen Ty Edwards yet. If Mama Ash, I don't know, you probably gave up on this show a long time ago, but because I've never said a ton about your son that was nice. I've been honest. I'm not trying to bash Clay Ash at all. I just personally don't think that he is the running back number 2 and certainly not the starter now. If he is, then we have some issues that I'm worried about. keeping that real. I I think he would be fine if we had a good offensive line and he could get moving and get upfield. Like I could definitely see him producing in that kind of setting where he's getting, 5, 6 yards up the field. Then he can make moves and run over people but not in the backfield. Definitely not. So what's that look like? Well, I think it's obviously Ty Edwards or Sincere Bowers or Dior Hubbard. Where is he at? Like, there's another one that I have no idea. We heard such great things about him. He had such a great spring that we were told about, and I'm just not sure what happened to him. Like, I was, if you asked me to put money down, I would have said, "Oh yeah, Dior Hubbard's probably the running back number 2, unless something else has happened that we don't know about." And these are all things that just can't be fixed right away unless we're just these guys aren't available for whatever reason. So that's my 2 cents on it is, first of all, where's Dior Hubbard? He's looked good at times whenever he was given the ball. Is he explosive like Jahiem? No, not necessarily. He's got his own kind of skill set that's pretty good. Obviously, the number one option for me would be Sincere Bowers based on what he can do in the open field if you can get him there. But I think Ty Edwards is the answer for me because of his size. Because a lot of times with a guy like Ty Edwards, I showed you guys the video yesterday. If you go back to my video yesterday at the very end and look at the highlights, or you go to Ty Edwards' page and watch them for yourself. Watch them for yourself. Ty Edwards jukes people out in the hole. He does it all the time. He can go laterally. For as big as he is, he's not just a straight ahead runner. At least not back at UNI, he wasn't. They've got him clocked at 21 miles an hour on the gun. He's got long speed. He's very much like C.J. Donaldson in a lot of ways, actually. And I thought a little bit better version of C.J. Donaldson, which is a big compliment. And I think the fact that he had the court thing happen, which really kind of set him back a few weeks, has been a big reason why he hasn't come in. But I can't prove that. I don't know. It could be a multitude of things. Maybe he's not taken to the offense. Maybe he's playing bad in practice. For him not to see the field but like one play so far is baffling to me. Truly baffling. I just hope it changes for our sake, because we do have, even though the rest of the country wouldn't know this, we do have a couple good running backs still, I believe. I believe there's still a chance for that. But I know I'm probably in the growing minority of those people that believe that. But if you say Sincere Bowers, Dior Hubbard, or even Ty Edwards had something to say about the rest of the year, I could believe that. It's just going to take some time to get there. So that's unfortunate for me, as far as I'm concerned. But the O-line showed the ability to pass protect yesterday. So if you didn't pay attention, I mean, if you notice, they had time to throw it, right? So they have shown the ability to at least do that. So it's either going to be that we change up the offense quite a bit and start slinging it around a little more, or we have to do something different on the run side of things, or we have to get quicker with our passing game. And I'm not sure which one it's going to be. I wish I did. We'll know against Pitt. I'm really going to be interested to see what the game plan looks like against them for sure, because they haven't really had to do much the first couple of weeks, right? They've been able to be really vanilla. They've been able to hold a lot of stuff back. We had to really go deep into the playbook to play Ohio yesterday. So that's where I'm at on all this. I mean, we have to figure this out. I don't want this to be a non-bowl game year. I want us to have some momentum going into next season, because I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose the players we already have on the team because this year's so bad, everybody just wants to leave. Like we need to be able to stack 2 years on top of each other. If we lose everybody, that's going to be an issue because Rich is never going to be able to build anything. So that's kind of what I'm worried about. I just want us to, that's the problem with today's day and age. Like if you can't have a decent first year, people are going to want to bounce. And then what do you do? So that's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate part of it. As far as our O line goes, guys, let's go to break really quick. After we do this real quick game cap read, we'll talk about that because there are some players that I don't know why we haven't seen either as well on them. So we'll talk about them too. We'll be right back. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by the Game Cap. That's right. We said Game Cap. And then we have a quick question for you all. If you could go back and sit in front row at your high school or college school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? And yes, I said hat. For me, it would probably be the Backyard Brawl. Give me any year because these aren't just hats. There's some vintage styles that fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They're still going for the same price they did back then. When you use code Locked On, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. Just head over to GameCaps, thegamecaps.com. That's thegamecaps.com. And grab your team's classic bar or retro circle style design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount because legends, well, they wear the game. All right, guys, we're back here, Locked On West Virginia. Thank you for being here as well, by the way. I really do appreciate your time each and every night that you do this. We're Paul After Dark in it, baby. Make sure you like the video while you're here, guys, if you don't mind. Subscribe if you're new around here, and definitely share the video out if you get a chance today. So, I got a couple questions as well, and this is not only the offensive line, but other places too. But we'll start on the offensive line. Obviously, as of right now, Clay Ash has still consistently performed at probably the overall best, although he had a couple of lapses yesterday. The two guards have performed very, very poorly. And I mean very, very poorly. As bad as it can possibly get, almost. So, my question to you all is, would you be willing to go young like we did in 2019 and try to ride this year out? Or do you want to see if they can get better as a group? Because those are really the only two options we have, in my opinion. Or you can go with a couple guys that I have no clue what they can offer us in the run game, much less the pass game. I don't. We can start out with Michael Clay. Obviously, he's had a ton of what I would consider good games at the lower level, but certainly not what I was expecting on tape at times. Like he had some slow steps. He's a super strong freak athlete kind of guy, but he's got some technique issues, I thought. But who knows? Maybe they're working on those. And other guys, Josh Isosa, obviously the Oklahoma transfer is another one that you look at and wonder, he's 6'3", 325. He's a bit bigger. Is he a guy that maybe you could toss in there over a 290-pound Kimo Makaniole? Or what about Donovan Haslam, right? Who's 6'3", 350. I mean, that's a big dude. Could you throw him in there to be a better run blocker maybe? If you look at the guards, they're both 300 pounds, basically. So they're a little bit on the smaller side. Another guy I'll throw out there is Carson Lee. Carson Lee's got over 1,000 snaps at the college level, and he can play center or guard. And I really believe in Carson as a player. I've got his tape. I've shown it on here multiple times. He's been good, and at the G5 level. So is it the Power 4 level? It is not. It is not. Malik Ogbo is another guy we haven't seen a lot of. Not sure if there's just an issue there that he's not good enough or whatever, but he was the Texas transfer that we thought might be one of our starters. And then last but not least at all is Xavier Bosley. I think Xavier Bosley will start if he comes back from injury and is able to get back in shape quick enough. There's no way he's worse than what we got. I'm shocked. I know for sure that he was. If I'd have known he was injured the whole time, that would have made everything easier on me on the projections because going back and looking at his Jacksonville State stuff, he was so much better than what we have now at opposite Clay Ash or I mean Nick Cray. So I really would love to see what we could do about Bosley because I think he is a guy that could really be a huge boon to our offensive line if he gets healthy. I just don't know what's going on there, So Bosley's a guy. Look for him, Maybe he gets in there and is able to make a difference. One good player can make a difference, and Bosley's a good player. I know he's a good player. We paid him a lot of money, guys, to come from Jacksonville State, a lot. And that was a couple years ago. Like, to not get anything out of him would be just heartbreaking, and I would love to see him get the opportunity. Try not to overreact. It's week 2. I've seen all the different things people have said. Iowa State lost to Ohio a couple years ago in week 2, and they went on to have a decent year. And, Rich Rod went 0-3 last year at Jack State and then won 8 in a row, although it's a lower level. Maybe it's just taking time. I don't know. But it's a very frustrating thing to see for the fan base because we've all been waiting 6 years. I think if it hadn't been so bad for the previous 6 years by our standards, so some teams are like, around bowl eligible all the time, and that's just what their programs are. We were closer to an 8.5 win average for quite a long time. So we were always in the thick of these races. And all of a sudden we've gone to totally fallen off the map. Like I told you, my colleagues question all the time whether or not this was the wrong move for the Big 12 to bring us even here, because we're literally 12 years in and haven't shown a damn thing outside of one maybe run with Dana. It's embarrassing. We're the most storied franchise in the conference, and we can't even get. It's a source of great pain for me. Oh, well, unfortunately, Chris D, not everybody's like that, man. I wish I could be. Some people do this. I record 3 times a day, 3 times a day, 7 days a week for a reason. It's because I replaced the addiction to heroin with the addiction to West Virginia football, I guess, to make a joke, which is probably doesn't always land very well because there's always new listeners and they're like, what did he just say? I always qualify it because, YouTube tells me 80% of my audience is new every single day, which is, so there's just so many people in the world. 20% of you guys always come back. 80% of you guys are changing all the time. So like the 20% is always like, why do you keep qualifying everything you say? So I do it because there's so many people that don't know, but I'm 5 years clean. And obviously heroin addiction was part of that for me. So sometimes I make jokes about it that maybe don't land so well, but for me, like I said, yeah, but I am like that, Chris, So like I cried yesterday on camera in front of people over it. So it's different levels. There's just like everything, right? There's different levels in recovery. Like some people will sell their body to get stuff. Some people will only panhandle. Some people will rob and steal. Some people will go to work and only spend their pay. Just like with fans, some people will cry after the team loses. Some people are over it in 5 minutes, right? Everybody's different. I'm one of those people that get really, really bogged down over it for a lot of reasons. I've probably said, I don't know if I've ever told you what my why is behind West Virginia football, but my why is a lot of it's family oriented, but I think for the most part, my dad brought me up to be a hardcore West Virginia fan. It was the only bond that we ever really had. And after he passed away, I kept that thing going, right? So a lot of it is connected to the loss of my dad. And I don't know how better to put it. It's just something I worked out talking to therapists, I guess. But um, I'm not ashamed of it. It's something that I think is overall healthy for me. I've turned it into a career. And obviously, when you put so much time and effort into something and loving something, wanting to see something come out of that, not only for yourself, but for the people involved is pretty natural. So, Raven, my honest thoughts on Pitt right now are they've got a really athletic defensive line. Um, they're I haven't done a deep dive just yet, but outside looking in, they're probably going to be really good at defensive line. They've got two really good linebackers and one linebacker that is an All-American. They've got an explosive offense that can score a little bit. Obviously, Holstein is a load back in the pocket at 6'5", 230, and can run. We're going to have another mobile quarterback this week that is a load to bring down, to say the least. I think we can get to him this week. I do. I think we can get to Holstein, especially if Jamoy Robinson, by the grace of the gods, gets cleared, which I'm not feeling too high on. But I still think we have a good chance to get to him. I'm not too worried about our defense. If our offense could score at all, I would feel okay in this game. But without that, I think that, Pitt's probably going to sustain some drives on us, and it may wear us down again if we can't keep anything going. But overall with Pitt, they're talented. I mean, they're probably closer to the team that went 7-0 than the team that went 0-6 last year. For those of you that don't know, they went 7-0, then they went 0-6, which is very rare. It's almost never happened. Most teams, you just don't go 7-0 then 0-6 like that. It's just a very odd thing to happen to them. But I think for the most part, they've got all those pieces back and they added to it. They only had to add 15 or 20 guys via the portal. So they kind of retooled. I'm still going to wait and see what practice is like this week, who's playing, who's getting reps, if we can figure that out. If it's Clay Ash and Nico Marchiol, I'm sorry, guys. I don't feel good about it. I don't. Maybe Nico will shut me up, and if he does, I'll get on here and admit it. I don't care. But if you're asking my opinion, which if you're here, I'm going to give it to you, I think we should move on from Nico for now because I don't think he's a mobile enough threat. Here's the thing. If you're running a zone read offense, okay, and all you can do is hand it off, that's a problem. That the quarterback has to have the ability to pull it, make a guy miss, and get upfield sometimes. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, the way the teams are fitting the run on the backside or the front side, whichever one side you want to look at, depending on which the play is going, they're fitting it so that the quarterback's pretty much going to have to make a guy miss because they know you can't block them. And that's the fact. So you either have to figure out a way to block people, you have to do perimeter-oriented runs, or you have to have a quarterback that can make somebody miss and make them pay for that. And then they'll start cheating back on the quarterback a little bit more, whether it be a safety or something like that. And then you can get a couple holes. But until that happens, we're in deep shit. That's it. I want to see Jalen too. I would love to see Scotty. I would love to see Max Brown at this point. I said it to you multiple times. From a pure throwing perspective, Max Brown can sling the snot out of the football. He's got a similar arm to a probably like a JT Daniels, I would say. And JT Daniels, was a good passer. It's just that he got hurt. He had that shoulder at the end of the year. He got worn down. But like JT Daniels is a very talented passer of the football. He just couldn't stay healthy. And I think he was beat up by the time he got to us as well. But, I think that Max Brown can really sling it around. He's got an extremely strong arm, 60, 65, 70 yards in the air type arm. It's all about decision making for him. If he can make great decisions, I mean, he went to Florida for a reason, so, and he's mobile. So, I wouldn't mind seeing him, but he was not nicked up there early. It's going to be fun to see what happens. I do think that if we have a good passing quarterback, this offense can still be pretty good, but we wait and see on that. All right, guys. It's another big moment for Locked On. If you didn't know, college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview, where Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, where former college star Jesse Holley joins in as well as Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview only Locked On can do, and College Football Kickoff is going to be every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Thank you guys so much for joining in. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. Unfortunately for Jahiem, he's out for the year. Hated to see that. Let's see who we plug in this week to get it. Maybe we get a Ty Edwards. Maybe we get a Cannon Katzer. Like, there's a lot of people that we haven't seen yet that I want to see. Hopefully we see them this week. Good night, y'all.